Movie enthusiasts, welcome to Yusef Reacts. I am Jen, and today we are going to dive in the heart of espionage. Lies a web of deception, where loyalties are tested and identities are concealed. Join us as we delve into the gripping narrative of Salt. Released in 2010, Salt is a high-octane thriller directed by Phillip Noyce, starring Angelina Jolie in the titular role. The film follows the story of Evelyn Salt, a CIA officer whose loyalty is questioned when a Russian defector accuses her of being a Russian sleeper agent. The movie kicks off with a dramatic interrogation scene, setting the stage for a roller coaster ride of twists and turns. As Salt goes on the run to clear her name, the audience is plunged into a world of relentless action and suspense. What makes Salt stand out is its protagonist, Evelyn Salt, a character shrouded in mystery and ambiguity. Is she a loyal CIA agent or a cunning Russian spy? The audience is kept guessing until the very end. Angelina Jolie delivers a powerhouse performance, embodying Salt's fierce determination and skill in combat. Her portrayal adds depth to the character, making her both enigmatic and relatable. Throughout the film, Salt's allegiance is constantly tested as she navigates a treacherous landscape of double crosses and betrayals. The stakes are high, and the tension never lets up. A CIA agent goes on the run after a defector accuses her of being a Russian spy. Evelyn Salt is a CIA agent and highly respected by all, including her boss, Ted Winter. Out of the blue, a Russian spy walks into their offices and offers a vital piece of information. The president of Russia will be assassinated during his forthcoming visit to New York City to attend the funeral of the recently deceased U.S. Vice President. The name of the assassin, Evelyn Salt. Concerned about the safety of her husband, who she cannot contact, she goes on the run. Winter refuses to accept that she is a mole or a double agent, but her actions begin to raise doubts. Just who is Evelyn Salt, and what is she planning? A Russian calling himself Olaf and claiming to be FSB walks into undercover CIA offices in Washington, D.C. wanting to defect. He says that he has information on a Russian sleeper cell, whose members were trained since they were children. Their mission is to infiltrate the American system by being one of them, ultimately with the goal of bringing down the United States starting on a specified day, code Day X, which will begin with the assassination of the current Russian president in New York City, at the upcoming funeral of the American vice president. The CIA interrogator deems Olaf a crackpot until he names the agent tasked with killing the Russian president, Evelyn Salt. The importance of this last piece of information is that Evelyn Salt is the CIA operative currently in the room with him. As his CIA interrogator, her name which he does and should not know in the current context. Daryl Peabody with CIA counterintelligence, who is monitoring the interrogation, feels he needs to question Evelyn before she leaves the building as a matter of proper protocol. Evelyn, denying all accusations, decides instead to make a run for it. She states all in an effort to save her husband. German archaeologist Mike Krause, who she believes has been targeted as part of the Russian plot against her. Beyond love, her devotion to Mike is largely because he, before knowing of her work as a CIA agent, helped negotiate her release from North Korean captivity 2 years earlier, when she was in special OPS in the field, that captivity which included torture. The longer Evelyn is on the run, the more she looks guilty to the American authorities pursuing her. Although helping Peabody and his team try to capture Evelyn, Ted Winter, her CIA colleague, is the only person seemingly who believes she is innocent of the accusations. There may be others in the Russian cell in positions of American authority who may be part of the plot. If Orlov's story in the general sense is to be believed, they who may be trying to help or stop Evelyn, depending if she is truly part of the cell. 2 years ago, the CIA field agent Evelyn Salt is captured in North Korea and tortured. Her beloved husband and entomologist Mike Krause presses the US government to make a swap and bring Salt back home. On the present days, the highly efficient Salt performs administrative work with her boss Ted Winter. When a Russian defector turns himself into CIA, Salt is assigned to interrogate him. Out of the blue, the man accuses Salt of being a Russian agent in charge of killing the president of Russia during his visit to New York to attend the funeral of the American vice president. Salt claims that she is innocent and asks Ted to call her husband, but she is not successful in her attempt. Salt asks Ted to give protection to her husband, but she decides to flee to seek out Mike. Ted does not believe she is a Russian spy, but the secret agent Peabody orders his agents to capture Salt dead or alive. Evelyn Salt Angelina Jolie is tortured in a prison in North Korea on suspicion of being a U.S.N. spy. Her boyfriend, arachnologist Mike Krause August DL, generates so much publicity about Salt's imprisonment that the CIA is forced to arrange a prisoner exchange despite the agency's policy against it. Salt's CIA colleague Ted Winter Liev Schreiber greets Salt at the border. As they drive away, Mike proposes marriage, despite Salt's admission to Mike that she is, in fact, a CIA operative. Mike is acknowledged as the world's top arachnologist. 2 years later, on Salt and Krause's wedding anniversary, a Russian defector named Oleg Vasilievich Orlov Daniel Olbrychski walks into Salt's office. Salt interrogates him with Winter and CIA counterintelligence officer Daryl Peabody chiwetel ejiofor observing. Orlov claims that on day X, highly trained Russian sleeper agents known as KAs will destroy the U.S.N. Orlov tells a story of how KAs were recruited by the KGB when they were practically babies and trained to be Russian spies to infiltrate the highest levels of the US government. He claims that the program started with Lee Harvey Oswald, who defected to Russia in 1959. But the man who returned to us was not Oswald but a Russian spy named Alec, who killed JFK. Similarly, many Russian agents trained from childhood up were substituted for us citizens when they visited the USSR. Orlov tells them that Agent K-12 will assassinate Russian President Boris Matveyev Oleg Krupa at the funeral of the American vice president. Orlov reveals that K-12 is named Evelyn Salt, and lie detectors confirm his entire story. Peabody orders Salt be detained, while Orlov kills 2 agents and escapes. In the confusion, Salt is able to escape from the building, running barefoot through the street. While the CIA is searching for her, Salt returns home and discovers that her husband, Mike, was kidnapped. Salt searches the apartment with her dog and gathers survival supplies, weapons, and one of her husband's spiders in a jar. She leaves her dog with a child from a neighboring apartment and resumes her escape. A day later, at the funeral of the US vice president, Salt enters the church despite heavy security. She had dyed her hair black. Salt shoots President Matveyev by caving the floor and dropping him a level below, where she gets a few seconds alone with him before the security arrives, and then surrenders herself to Peabody instead of killing him. Matveyev is pronounced dead. Salt escapes again and heads to a barge where Olaf is hiding with other sleeper agents. In a series of flashbacks, Salt recalls growing up in the Soviet Union and being trained with other children. She recalls being switched with an American girl, the real Evelyn Salt, after the girl and her parents died in a car crash in the Soviet Union. This gains her access to America by assuming the deceased Evelyn's identity. On the barge, Olaf welcomes her back and has her husband killed in front of her. When Salt shows no reaction, Olaf is convinced she is loyal and begins briefing her on her next assignment. She is to rendezvous with another KA who will help her assassinate the American president. Salt then turns and kills Olaf and the other agents before leaving. She then meets with the UNO, where KA Schneider stole, who uses his cover as a Czech NATO liaison to get Salt into the White House by disguising her as a man. Once inside, Schneider launches a suicide attack to force agents to move the president hunt block to an underground bunker, accompanied by Winter. Salt follows them and manages to enter the bunker before it is sealed. The US president learns that Russia has mobilized its nuclear arsenal in response to their president's murder. He orders US nuclear weapons readied in response. After seeing Evelyn has entered the bunker, Winter surprisingly kills everyone except the president. He introduces himself as Nikolai Tarkovsky, another member of the KA. Winter incapacitates the president and begins aiming nuclear missiles at Mecca and Tehran to incite 1 billion Muslims against the United States. Salt tries to persuade Winter to let her inside the sealed room. But then he sees a television report saying President Liev is alive and well. Salt had laced spider venom into the bullet she used to shoot Liev, simulating death. Winter refuses her entry and reveals that Mike's kidnapping and murder and her blown cover were all his ideas. Winter plans to place full blame for the nuclear attacks on Salt. Salt breaks into the room before he can launch the missiles. The two wrestle for control of the nuclear football, with Salt aborting the missile strikes before being captured. As Salt is being let out in chains, Winter grabs a pair of scissors, planning to kill her as she is led past him. She unexpectedly hooks her handcuff chain around Winter's neck and jumps over the stair railing, strangling him to death. On the helicopter ride to be interrogated, Peabody questions her. Salt explains that she killed Winter because he orchestrated the death of her husband, and promises to hunt down the remaining KA agents if freed, offering the fact she earlier let Peabody live as proof, as well as the fact she did not actually kill the Russian president. Peabody is convinced after receiving a text that Salt's fingerprints were found on the barge where the sleeper agents were killed, supporting her story. Salt is allowed to escape, jumping out of the helicopter into the Potomac River below and escaping into the woods. When Angelina Jolie makes her appearance on screen, chances are most people are interested in seeing in nothing but her kicking some major ass. And for those who relished in a good time of shoving popcorn in their mouth while watching her go gun blazing in the action thriller Wanted back in 2008, this one makes a sound, a slightly lesser option. This spy-action thriller, helmed by director Phillip Noyce, who brought his work to the screen, with two Jack Ryan adaptations, Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger, is just another one of your average trips to the land of Angelina Jolie, wielding her action skills against the baddies as she fights her way through the sporadic blemishes in the script written by Wimmer. Unlike Wanted, this flick proceeds with a slightly more political agenda at hand. primarily the corruption uprooted from Russia since the beginning of their fallout with the United States during the Cold War. This film focuses on Evelyn Salt, played by Angelina Jolie, a CIA operative who is living a peaceful life with her German boyfriend Michael Krause, played by Olbrychski, and being held as one of the most respectable agents at her job. Her life comes crashing down when she is accused by a captured Russian agent, Olaf, played by Olbrychski, of being a Russian sleeper agent with a plan to assassinate the President of the United States, with the law enforcement and agent Peabody, played by chiwetel ejiofor, pursuing her and her boss Ted Winter, played by Liev Schreiber, the only one who fully trusts her. Salt must set out on a mission to clear her name. For a movie set on exhibiting Jolie in her frenetic ass-kicking mode, this one delivers for the most part. Watching the actress step into action with a frenetic gun blazing, bone-crunching convulsion makes the tasty icing on the cake most action junkies crave for. But those who decide to take the ride seriously fall victim to witnessing the flaws in the film's attempt at establishing a solid political complex. Adding substance to the plot is a political theme involving international corruption and relations between the USN and Russia, which ties knowledge to the historical threats of the Soviet Union during the Cold War back in the 50s. It also makes the unfortunate feat of occasionally convoluting the plot, especially when throwing in a few twists and turns that will take audiences by surprise or leave them scratching their heads. Regardless, anyone willing to escape these blemishes is in for a nice treat. And that witnessing Angelina Jolie shoot, punch, and kick was way through the story in a sleek James Bond style. Tension is kept high, and the action falls nothing short of beauty, especially when adding explosions, car crashes, and vehicles slipping into the equation. For what the movie offers, it does enough to meet the appetite of cinema-goers hungry for a blend of sleek action thrills with brainy political subtext to go in the mix. Salt is an entertaining ride, if somewhat forgettable in terms of cinematic action mayhem. For those craving a sweet kick of action, this makes a fresh choice, though it nothing that reaches the peak of its genre. All that can be said is that fun and thrills is the best thing this movie delivers, if nothing more. In the end, Salt is more than just a pulse-pounding action movie. It's a gripping tale of espionage and intrigue that keeps viewers guessing until the very end. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the world of Salt. Stay tuned for more movie analyses and reviews. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for future content. Until next time, keep watching and keep exploring the stories that captivate us all.